I would say it's fair to agree that we all spend a lot of time and energy thinking about our finances. I'd say there was probably very few exceptions to that here on this channel because that's what we're here to talk about, right? And so whether we like it or not, financial well-being is closely tied to our overall happiness and general satisfaction in life. I mean, after all, think about it. When unexpected challenges crop up, being financially prepared for them gives you more options. More options equals more freedom. And it increases access to the resources that you need in that moment, as well as a better chance of overcoming whatever happens to come your way. And because of how important personal finances are in your life, it's going to be no surprise that there are a lot of myths that are going to come across your plate about money. In today's video, what I want to do is tackle some of those and also look at what we consider to be the most important, which is going to help you guys go further, faster financially. Here's the thing. Back in 2017, there was actually a study that was conducted by the American Psychological Association. And what it said is that 62% of Americans consider money a significant stress in their lives. And due to the fact that making money and keeping it as a huge focus in our lives, there are many people that are seeking out whatever nuggets of wisdom that they can in order to help them make better financial decisions. It's probably what led you to us. Now, as far as trying to get at what's true, a lot of what passes as financial common sense is actually composed of misinformation. Probably not a big surprise. So what I want to do is cut through the noise. I want to continue to shed light on some of the most popular financial wellness myths so that you can get a better state of financial affairs through the application of facts, not falsities. Now, the first myth that I want to address is the myth that tells you that more money means improved financial wellness. And that actually seems to be this belief that just having enough money is the be-all, end-all solution to every financial woe. But this just isn't the case. You don't have to look very far to find lottery winners who actually squandered millions or tens of millions of dollars because they didn't have just a basic grasp on financial literacy. In fact, a lot of people's lives are ruined when they win the lottery. Just ask somebody on the street what they would do if they were suddenly given $1 million. What you probably aren't going to hear are answers that are related to the strategic use of debt weapons or the acquisition of conservatively placed long-term income producing assets. I mean, that's so boring, right? Instead, you're going to hear about people wanting to go out and buy their dream car or buy their loved one a new home or, buy a herd of horses. But here's the thing. Poor money management is the number one avoidable mistake that you can make. All it takes is a little bit of discipline and consistency. It takes a fundamental understanding of how to use money as a tool, just like you would a screwdriver or a belt sander. It's just a tool. If it's misused, it can cause you harm. If it's used correctly, it becomes tremendous leverage to leapfrog you to financial success. There's another common financial wellness myth, and it's that we're financially healthy as long as our bills are being paid. If we're earning more than what we're spending. And I see this all the time because people oftentimes think that just because their bills are being paid, they are taking care of themselves and are actually financially independent in some way, which is, of course, a total myth. I see this a lot with people that are actually coming in from their early 20s too, and are just now getting out into the real world independent of their parents. And for many of these folks, the bar is actually very low. They think that just keeping the lights on and keeping their debt collectors happy means that they're doing very well financially. Not necessarily collection agencies, but the actual creditors themselves. And this approach to money management is oftentimes a recipe for disaster over the long run. It completely removes the need to set a long-term plan into place. I mean, if your bills are being paid and therefore you're doing well financially, why worry about saving for anything at all in the future? Why worry about investing into income-producing assets at all? Technically, in that situation, you'd already arrived financially. The final financial wellness myth that I want to look at today is the myth about financial knowledge being enough to ensure success with money. And for whatever reason, many people seem to think that if they just learn enough about how money works, they'll suddenly somehow become rich. If they can just bury themselves in enough books or articles or courses or YouTube channels, they're going to know how money works and they'll have done the work and the checks are going to just start rolling in, and the bill balances or the debt balances are just going to continue to diminish. And of course, this couldn't be further from the truth. We all know that it requires an actionable plan. In addition to financial wellness and knowledge, you have to have steps that you can take to change how money operates in your life. It's a lot like the law of attraction. The law of attraction doesn't work just because you're shifting your mental state of mind. You also have to shift your behavior. Actionable steps can include shifting your investments from one type to another. It could mean opening up new sources of income or capital, which we call debt weapons. It could also mean tightening your purse strings in certain areas, reducing expenses when necessary. When I first started VIP Financial Education, I knew that in order for this channel to be successful, I would really have to couple sound financial knowledge with crystal clear steps. And that's why we included the one-on-one coaching with this channel. It had to pertain to people and their unique circumstances. Each and every person is like a financial fingerprint. We're all completely different from the next. So no two plans that we've ever created have been identical. And that's why we bring people onto this channel so frequently. We open this up to so many collaborations. Frankly, there is an abundance of topics that need to be discussed here on the channel in order to both optimize the asset and income side of the balance sheet, along with minimizing the liability side of the balance sheet. And when you do those two things simultaneously, you end up with something that we have deemed cash flow stacking. It's one of the most spectacular ways of creating extraordinary wealth that exists. On one hand, you have educators that talk about constantly managing and maximizing the assets. And then on the other hand, you hear people constantly focusing on the minimization of your liabilities and paying off your debts more quickly. You can't focus on one or the other. Imagine this for one moment. You ignore your income and assets, and you're only worrying about paying off your debts, and your income stays exactly what it is today, and suddenly you're debt-free. Now you want to retire. It's not even possible. You can't retire unless you've managed to replace your income with new streams of revenue. And you can't retire and do whatever you want, whenever you want, unless those streams of income are residual in nature, right? Income that you can earn from the couch. Or look at the other side. Imagine if you are concentrating on maximizing your income and your assets, but you're completely ignoring your liabilities and your debts, and you just keep growing your debts while simultaneously growing your income and your assets. You also will find it extremely difficult to ever retire because those liabilities have to be paid at some point. It was very interesting. I think back to almost 10 years ago when I was speaking to large groups of financial advisors. And by and large, when I talked about paying off debt, they looked at me like I was out of my mind. Why pay off low interest rate mortgage balances when you could reinvest the money and speculate returns that far exceed the cost of the money that you're borrowing? Well, there's some mathematical logic behind that, but when you turn around and ask the audience how many of you plan to or want to retire with that any debt at all, and not one hand would go up. So at what point do you turn that corner and begin to realistically, with aggression, attack that debt? Ultimately, you have to be focusing on both sides of the balance sheet to get what you really want. And while I understand that that's not necessarily going to gain as many views as other channels that are out there, I happen to know one thing, and that's that we happen to be helping as many as any channel on the entire platform. And so hopefully we can help you. And the way that we start off by doing that is by giving you some tools. The first tool I want to give you is the Cash Flow Cruncher spreadsheet. If you haven't already downloaded and started using that, I get people complimenting that specific tool every single day. That is an incredible tool and exercise to go through, and it's yours, courtesy us to you, just by being an audience member here on the channel. There's no time like now. It's never going to be the perfect timing. The only difference between now and 5 years from now is that you're going to be a lot older in 5 years, which makes things much more difficult. Everything is easier when you're younger. Start today versus tomorrow. So guys, I hope that this channel continues to be a resource for you, a resource of resources. That's the real intention here, is that I can continue to collect resources that have changed my life or changed the lives of people that I know and love, and bring it to you so that you can have an impact as well, potentially. Do your own homework. Obviously, it has to be a good fit for you personally. But understanding it and researching it further is how you're going to determine that for yourself. You've got to be a subscriber to the channel, so consider subscribing now. Also, drop a like on this video. if you guys are interested in us continuing to bring a wide collection of topics. Also, I'm very, very curious to know what you want us to be continuing to focus on. Tell me, what have been some of the topics that you've liked the best? Go ahead and drop a comment below. If we haven't brought a conversation yet to the channel that you're interested in us having, I would love to hear what that is, and we'll do our best to do that. Until we see you on the next video, make it a great day and take care. Alrighty, so I realize that some of you have not gotten one of the single most popular budgeting tools available, not to mention it's free, and that is called the Cash Flow Cruncher. So what I want to do today is walk you through the process of downloading your very own copy. It comes in the form of an Excel spreadsheet, so it's very easy to use, and it's quick to navigate. So let's go ahead and walk through that process together. The first thing you'll do is in the search menu, you'll go to cashflowcruncher.com, which will take you to the download page. Simply type your email address into the field to claim your free copy and go ahead and select the red button. Immediately it'll pull up the download button, which will open a new Cash Flow Cruncher spreadsheet. Now you can see I've already got a copy open and enlarged here for you to see. The first page it'll open is the Cash Flow Summary tab, which is a non-editable page. It's very important to understand that this opening tab will not require you to put any information into these fields. This actually imports the data from the other tabs below. Now, if you've ever used an Excel spreadsheet, you'll navigate the spreadsheet by going to individual pages down here. And it'll start with the revenue and assets page. On this page, you'll want to itemize each individual income that you bring into the household or the business. Now, it's always been my recommendation that you create an individual cash flow cruncher for your businesses, an individual cash flow cruncher for your real estate, and an individual cash flow cruncher for your house.